بني حصاد الرصاص أتاه فما من مغيث ولا من عزاء أبي رحيم كشربة ماء طعنت فطوبى ولا من شقاء.
الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وعلى كل من تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما وفضلا يا رب العالمين. اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. وبعد, respected brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers of this masjid and Maulana Abu Bakr for inviting me and arranging this very important program, which will take place in two parts. The first between Maghrib and Isha, and then the second one after Isha. Looks like a lot of people will come for the after Isha topic. Both will be kind of related, and you might have seen on the poster. These topics are very important, especially the second one I will talk about. I'll introduce it after Isha. First, I would also like to apologize that I've had a flu since the last whole week, since Monday, Tuesday, and I'm inshallah recovering. It's quite well than I was in the beginning. So I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give me the ability to inshallah say that which is beneficial for myself and all of you inshallah. Marriage-related topics and marriage-related talks and lectures and programs and events take place in abundance. There are so many lectures and topics on marriage. Many of you may have heard talks on marriages. And not just talks, courses. I myself have taught the course on marriage, and the course on marriage is not like 1-2 hours, like a full day, which is like a half a course, and 2 full days. A proper marriage course is like 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. on a Saturday and a 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. on a Sunday with 100 pages worth of course notes. So sometimes full 2 days, sometimes 1 day, but the course of marriage at least I think about 16 or 17 times in the last 12-13 years. The first course I taught was in 2005, so in the last 12 years, in different parts of the country and even abroad, many different countries, America, Canada, Norway, lots of places. I remember once it was in very detailed in Birmingham. So this is a very vast topic. We can talk about different aspects of marriage. The whole course is very detailed. But what we're going to do today, inshallah, is talk about just 2 issues. And they will cover a lot of things. The first is relating to marital problems. Marriage problems. It's for people who are married as well as people who are not married, so they can save themselves. Those who are not married, if they learn about these things, they can take precaution and anticipate and sort of, inshallah, before they get married, make sure that they don't get involved in those kind of issues. And those who are already married, they can take this advice, inshallah, and put it into practice in their marital relationships with their wives or their husbands. So the first issue is about, before Isha, the hour we have, or just under an hour, problems in marriage. Why do we have many problems in marriage? And I will tell you seriously, it's a big problem. Having problems and marital conflicts is a big issue. In the last 10-12 years, working in a dawah lifter and answering people's questions and dealing with people's questions, people ask me sometimes, some friends, what's the topic that you receive the most questions on? It's about divorce. Every week, honestly, and this is like maybe an estimation that at least on average I receive 10 questions per week. And I think much more than that. I'm just giving a very sort of precautious estimation. 10 questions per week on marriage problems or divorce issues or marriage issues. People ask me, I said, the most common issue that I'm asked about, marriage problems. Every day there's 2-3 phone calls, whether it's phone calls, whether it's emails, whether it's people just coming and talking to me, marriage problems, it's the most common issue that people ask about. Divorce is the most common question. Every day there's 3, 4, 5 divorce related emails that I receive. Every day, like you get a wife calling, Assalamu alaikum, alaikum salam, yes, this is the, and now what happens to me is I actually know what that person is going to ask. As soon as that husband or wife starts speaking, after first sentence, I actually know what they're going to say. Because I've heard it, I've heard everything. Like, I always say to her that, okay, this is what it is. Yeah, how did you know? I don't have any ghaib, okay, but it's, you know where she's going to and you know what he is getting to. So it's a big problem. There are many reasons. First of all, and I've actually just jotted down like 10, I can inshallah cover them quickly, 10 points. This is not just a lecture or a talk or like I was saying that it's not for entertainment. Yeah, and I can't do entertainment talks. I mean, that's not my nature anyway. Whenever there's talks, lectures, programs, it's not supposed to be just somebody who just gives you a good tune or a good fiery speech and you just get a buzz and you enjoy it and go for the enjoyment of the moment and then it's gone. You know, like I said many times before, talks are not an end, it's a means. We take programs as an end, that we've done the job and it's finished. No, this is just like a small reminder. We take it, we make notes of it, mentally make notes of it, maybe with a pen we make notes of it, and then we take this and implement it in life. That's what all these Islamic programs are supposed to be for. All the lectures and all the programs are just a means, like a small part. Then what's the main part? To act upon it. Not the actual talk itself is the objective, the maqsad. So I have some 10 kind of points why we have all these marital conflicts and problems. First of all, I would like to say marriage was not supposed to be an easy thing, and it's not easy. Marriage is not an easy issue. It's not easy. It's supposed to be difficult. There are so many rewards in the hadith of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam regarding marriage. There are so many hadiths that talk about the fada'il, the virtues, the significance, the importance of marriage, the rewards, the merits on marriage, nikah, so many. We don't have time to go through all the hadiths, but there's so many hadiths that talk about the reward and fadilah of marriage. Why? There must be a reason. I remember once when I was teaching a course and I was covering some of these hadiths that talk about the rewards and merits of marriage. One of the brothers in the audience asked a question. He said, "Can I ask you a question?" I said, "Yes." He said, "I have this thought in mind." I said, "What's that thought?" He said, "Everything in Islam, when you get a lot of reward, a lot of thawab, it's all difficult things. They are all difficult things." I said, "Yes, right, it's true." He said, like for example, you get a lot of reward for praying 5-time prayers. But it's not easy praying 5 times. Waking up Fajr, it's difficult. Tahajjud, pray in the middle of the night. So much reward, but it's difficult. Fasting in Ramadan, it's not easy, it's difficult, and you get so much reward. And actually, this is taken from the hadith. I actually told you, I said, what you're saying is from the hadith. حُجِبَتِ النَّارُ بِالشَّهَوَاتِ وَحُجِبَتِ الْجَنَّةُ بِالْمَكَارِهِ. Jannah is veiled with difficult things, and hellfire is veiled with apparently pleasing things. So all the pleasurable things take you to Jahannam. Zina, stealing, just sleeping, eating whatever you want, haram, all the apparently pleasurable things take you to hellfire. Have you thought about this? And all the difficult things take you to Jannah. And actually, this is not just about Islam, even in life. Listen to this carefully. Even in life, anything good you want in life, it's difficult. When you want a good, healthy lifestyle, you go to somebody, I'm obese, I'm very fat, and I've got all these heart diseases and all of this. I want a healthy diet. What will the doctor or the dietitian, what will he say? Okay, your healthy diet is lots of sweets, lots of chocolates, lots of sugary things, and all the cakes and all the things you like. No, you have to eat things you don't want to eat. All the tasty things you have to avoid in order for a good, healthy life. Why wasn't it like, I was thinking to myself, why isn't a good diet, cakes and sweets and biscuits and chocolates and crisps and drinks? Why not? That's the system of the world. So likewise in deen, Jannah, tahajjud, salah, fasting, zakat, hajj, hard, difficult things. Jahannam, alcohol, pork, zina, stealing, sleeping anytime, not praying salah, doing whatever you want to do. This is the system. So this brother was saying that I've understood this, but one thing doesn't make sense to me. Marriage is an exception. The question was, marriage is an exception. It's so pleasurable, yet it gives you so much reward. I said to him, brother, can I ask you a question? Are you married? He said, no. I said, that's why you're saying this. He wasn't married. He thought marriage is so pleasurable. Of course it's pleasurable, but inna ma'al usri yusra. It's difficult, and that's why there's so much reward. So the first point we have to understand that marriage was not meant to be easy. It's mujahada, it's struggle, it's striving, it's difficult, it's hard. It's not just like, because people who are not married, before they get married, they think, marriage is, me and my wife, and me and my husband, and we're just gonna, relax and just go hotel and go bedroom and do this, and, we're just gonna look at the stars and just hold hands all night long and all day long. And of course, all of these things are there, but then there's just babies, and there's nappies, and there's Tesco, and then there's Asda, and then there's electricity bill, and then there's gas bill, and then there's buying a house or not buying a house, and then you got one child there, vomiting, and then the other one there in the toilet saying, come on, wash me, and come, and another one done a nappy, and no one, it's not easy. So marriage is a difficult aspect of life. And therefore, until we do not actually take it as an important aspect of life that we need to work at, and do it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's an ibadah in Islam. Marriage is an ibadah. Just like fasting is ibadah, praying is ibadah, nikah and marriage and rights of husband and wives is an ibadah. A lot of times people say, why do we just talk about marriage or sexual relations, etc.? The reason why we talk about these things is because they're part of Islam. In Islam, there's no separation between masjid and nikah. There's no separation in Islam. So anyway, this was like an introduction that it is difficult and we have lots of issues why we have all these problems. Now, so this is the introduction we understood. Marriage is not supposed to be easy. It's difficult. There's lots of reward. But there are many reasons why we have conflict. So many divorces. I don't know what the average here is right now, but I remember when I was in America and Canada once, somebody said 1 in 3 Muslim marriages end up in divorce. 1 in 3. And probably it's gone to 1 in 2. Like 50% of marriages are breaking down. There's a breakup of marriage. Every 2 people, 1 person ends up in divorce. It wasn't like that before. We've got some, elderly people here. It wasn't like that before. Our parents and forefathers, grandparents, they were living blissfully in a marriage till 85 years of age. Seriously, even the non-Muslims of this country. I once was talking to an old man in his 70s. He's been married for many, many long years, and he was saying to me that yes, today's generation, nobody can stay in a marriage. We, showed how to live a marital life. In the 50s and the 60s, even the non-Muslims in this country, they lived happily in marriages, and they sustained marriages. Now it's very difficult. It's very difficult. People can't stay in a marriage. Why? There's a reason, and there are many reasons, and I will just talk about some of these issues. First point, keep these points in mind, inshallah. First point is that people, when they get married, we fail to realize that there is a difference between a man and a woman. This is from the Qur'an and Sunnah, and this is also proven by the experts. You might have read the book, Men from Mars and Women from Heaven, no, Venus. Men from Mars, Women from Venus. What does that mean? There's a whole book written in English. I've read that book. And a lot of good things in that book shows there is a major difference psychologically, mentally, emotionally, physically between men and women. Not just between men and women. Every human being is different from another human being. I am different from you. You are different from him. He is different from him. We all look differently. Every single one of us here looks differently. Every one of us thinks differently. My idea might not be your idea. Your idea is different to his idea. We can have an issue here and we could have 200 opinions because aql of insan is different. Every human being thinks differently. Even our fingerprints are different. That's why they say, go to the airport, fingerprints. Because that's how Allah created us. So we are all different. Imagine every human being is different. And in marriage, when it's two opposite genders, hopefully so, when it's two opposite genders, it's a man and a woman marriage, not a man and a man, or a woman and a woman, and you know what I'm saying, that hopefully so. It's a man and a woman marriage, then not just that you are two different people, but two different genders. Now the differences are even greater. The differences are greater because a woman is psychologically, mentally, physically created differently by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from a man. And a man is created differently from a woman. There are major differences. We fail to realize these differences. When a man gets married, he just thinks like he's been living a bachelor lifestyle with his friends. He thinks another mate in the house as well. Like I used to have shisha with my friends. But hey, come on, let's just, just deals with her like she's one of the mates. There's a big difference. You can't talk to your wife like you talk to your friends. You might say something to your friends and he might just give you a tap on the back. You say the same thing to your wife and she'll probably cry for 3 weeks. Because she is emotional, she is fragile, she's different. Likewise the woman, the way you used to talk to your friend, a female, for 2 hours, talking about something, you can't expect your husband for 2 hours to listen to you all the boring details. Yeah, this happened and this happened. Oh, okay, that happened. Oh, this happened. Oh, okay. For 2 hours, men can't talk for that long. So, both parties need to realize that there is a difference between men and women. Allah has created both of them differently. And this is actually taken from a hadith. There's a famous hadith of Sahih al-Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, where the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, Al-mar'atu ka-dil'i. A woman is like a rib. In aqamtaha kasartaha. Wa in istamta'ta biha istamta'ta biha wa fiha iwaj. A woman is like a rib. If you try to straighten her, you will snap her. If you want to benefit from her, then benefit from her like she is. وَفِيهَا عِوَجٌ, and there's crookedness in her. Now, sometimes some people misunderstand this hadith. I just picked up these 2 books. These are 2 of the books that I wrote, and one of them is this. If you can, this is an old book, but it's like 40 hadiths on marriage. All of them with commentary. I don't tell them myself, but you'll find it somewhere online or whatever in some shops. But in there, I've talked about this. There's a hadith 33, where this hadith, I've specifically explained that a lot of times people misunderstand this hadith. And they think that this hadith is encouraging the man to realize that the woman is different from you. Some non-Muslims, they attack Islam and they say the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam compared a woman to a crooked rib. No. This is trying to tell the man that from a man's angle, the woman may seem different to you. The beauty of the rib is in it being bent. That's not like degrading a woman. The beauty of a woman is in her being more emotional, more fragile, more gentle, more emotional. The man has been told, that's why in another hadith he says that, therefore treat your women well, because she is different from you. If you try to straighten her, if you try to make her a man, you will snap her. One of the major root cause of marital problems is the man wants his wife to think like him, act like him, eat like him, drink like him, walk like him, sleep like him, do everything like him. That's not going to work. You've married a woman. If sometimes we forget, I tell the husbands, if you forget that you married a woman, take a surah in your hand and then read tasbih. I married a woman, I married a woman, I married a woman, I married a woman. Just remind yourself, you married a woman. Or tell your wife, I am a woman, just put it on your forehead, sticker. I am a woman. Fragile, handled with care. Because a lot of men forget. We need constant reminders, she's a woman, she's not a man. And the woman has to also remember that I've married a man. So this hadith is saying that, look, from a man's perspective, she might seem different to you. Bent in this hadith means different. Like from your angle, she's different to you. To you, she's different. But For her, being that is perfectly fine. Actually, the beauty of the woman, like the beauty of the rib is in it being bent, the beauty of a woman is being more fragile and more emotional. I'm sure some of you who are married, you know that like women are very emotional. Sometimes women cry. You know, you ask them why they're crying. They don't know themselves why they're crying. Like, I'm crying. I feel like crying. Like crying. Tell me what's the reason. I don't know. There's no reason, but she's crying. For what reason? Like, the man doesn't get it. But that's what the issue is. That she's a woman. And if we don't realize this, then we're going to have marriage problems. Because you're going to say, oh, you know, you're crying for no reason. But that's it. You know, she's a woman. So you have to have sabr and patience. So there are many, many differences between men and women. And both parties have to understand these differences. Not understanding the opposite gender is a major cause for marital problems. Okay, and there's some notes that I made from that book as well once. There's lots of things that are different. Like for example, I talked about this, even the way men and women talk. Men are literalists in the way they talk. Women are not literalists. Do you know what that means? Sometimes a woman might say to you, "You've never taken me out ever to eat." That means that it's about time we need to go. It's been about 2-3 weeks. Understand that. Like if you're a man, you have to be diplomatic. Sabr. She doesn't mean it. She doesn't mean that it's never. That's the way a woman talks. If you don't understand that, then you're going to have problems in your marriage. So therefore we need to understand there are differences between men and women, and we have to have sabr and patience. The woman needs to understand as well how the man is. The man doesn't like to be controlled. You know, the man doesn't like to be told what to do and what not to do. If the man is driving and he takes a wrong turn and the wife says, "You took a wrong turn, this is a better way," he'll say, no, he knows it's wrong, but no, I'm taking the other way, you don't know. Like, don't tell me, I'm like, he doesn't like to be controlled. So the woman needs to understand this. This is the male ego. This is the male issue, that he doesn't like to be controlled by his wife and told, this is wrong and this is right, and you need to go this way. Both parties need to understand these inherent psychological or physical differences. Allah has created both men and women differently. Look, there's equality. Of course there's equality in Islam. Man amila salihan minkum min dhakarin aw untha. The Qur'an also always says, man or woman, whoever is more close to Allah, fearful to Allah, will be more noble and close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In al-muslimeen wal-muslimat, mu'mineen wal-mu'minat, qaniteen qanitat, sadiqeen sadiqat. Man prays, woman prays, you don't get more reward just because you're a man or more reward because you're a woman. So there's equality. But there's differences. A lot of times people misunderstand, they confuse equality and similarity. These are two different things. There's equality in Islam, but not similarity. There's equality, but there's not similarity. Men are different. Do men give birth to babies? No. I mean, some women, they think equality means similarity. You might just, in 10 years, you might have a march in Huddersfield saying, women, all these feminist women coming out and saying, it's not fair. Why do we get pregnant? Men should get pregnant as well. Why do we get menstruation? We want equality. There's differences. There's similarity, there's dissimilarity, but there's equality. In the sight of Allah, you fast as a man or a woman, you don't get extra reward because of your gender. But there are differences. So we really need to understand these differences. Finally on this point, just to recap this, that the man needs to realize that the woman is emotional, she is gentle, she likes to talk, sometimes have sabr. If she don't offer advices, if she, for example, sometimes a woman, when she's asking something, she doesn't really want a solution straight away. Like she's saying, oh, this happened. Okay, do that. Like for a man, say, okay, yeah, it just makes sense. Hey, like you said, 1 and 1 is 2. Just, okay, if you're saying this. But she goes, no, this, no, like this. But I just said, then do that, That's what men do. She doesn't want you to give her 1 minute solution. This happened, just do this, or just do that. She just wants you to hear. Sometimes just, oh, really? Okay. Oh, just listen, like for half an hour. Even if you're thinking about something else, just pretend you're listening, no problem. She just wants a half an hour, someone just listening. And then maybe just talk about it, okay? As long as there's no sinful talk and no riba, and you have to try to train your wives and your husbands. Ghiba is haram. But other than that, they just want somebody to talk to. That's why when they don't talk, when their husbands don't talk to them, they'll pick up the phone and talk to a friend. 2 hours talking about something, because the husbands don't talk. That's why then they feel that emotional aspect somewhere else. So women want somebody just to talk to. They don't want just advice straight away. Men need to understand this, that women are gentle, emotional, fragile, they just need to talk, so have someone on all of that. And women need to understand, men need to be given the respect, and men need to be given that position and not be controlled and not to be told what to do. These are the main differences, but there's quite a few other differences as well between men and women. The way both of them sort of cope with stress, how women cope with stress, how men cope with stress, all of these things, you can read up on them. So that was the first reason why we have problems, because people forget this, that men and women are different. Number two, because time is very short, this is very important. This is actually a connection to the first point. One of the reasons why we have problems in marriage in this day and age, and in our times more, like I was saying in the earlier times, is because gender roles have been mixed up. What do I mean by gender roles have been mixed up? In the earlier times, whether they were Muslim or non-Muslim, men were men, they acted like men, they played the role of men, and women were women, they acted like women, and they played the role of women. Men were masculine, women were feminine. Men knew their role and their place, women knew their role and their place. Now, and that's why Islam says there's a perfect balance. A man and a woman is a perfect jigsaw puzzle. They both complement one another. They don't compete with one another. They complement one another perfectly. You put them two together and you have a perfect couple. But right now, the man has lost his masculinity. The man sometimes is no longer playing the role of a man. He's become half of a woman, because from everything, from the clothes he wears, from the way he thinks, from the things he does, everything, the man has become half woman. And the woman no longer has remained a full woman and femininity in her. She, from the clothes she wears, from the things she does, she's become a half man. Now, instead of having a man marrying a woman, you've got a half man and a half woman marrying a half man and a half woman, and you've got a clash of civilizations, or a clash of, two people. And that's why we have these problems. Gender roles are mixed up. This is why Islam says that men have a specific role. A woman has a specific role to play. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created men and women, and He knows best what the roles are. If Allah said this is the role of the woman, then this is the role of a woman. If Allah said this is the role of a man, then this is the role of the man. The maqsad of takhliq, the maqsad or the objective of creation, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not about one gender being better than the other gender. It's about differences, like I said in the first point. And roles have been given based on that, the differences. Like I said, this point is connection of the first point. Because they are different roles have been given. Like for example, if I have some work in my office, I have a business, and I have two brothers coming to me one day, two friends. I'm sitting in the office, two friends just suddenly surprise me and come and say, you know what, we want to help you. Come on, give us some jobs. I said, okay, I've got I was making dua, Allah send somebody, I've got so much work in my office. I have all these boxes and these cupboards and heavy things to lift and take them to the first floor, upstairs. And then I've got so much paperwork, accounts to be done here. One of them is a big, heavy bodybuilder, very powerful, very strong, one friend of mine. But he has a weak memory and brain. He's not that sharp and clever. Bodybuilders are not that clever. Well, they could be. But anyway, because all the power goes in the other parts of the body. The brain is weak, but the body is amazing. And the other guy is like a stick. You blow at him and he falls down. But his brain is amazing. Now what I say, okay. Perfect balance. And all the boxes, who's going to live them? The guy who's a bodybuilder, very powerful, strong, no brain. And the one who's got no body but amazing brain, sit on my table and do all the accounts. If I say, okay, the one who's got the brains and no body, you lift all the boxes, and the other one, I'll say you, then a bodybuilder with no brains, do the accounts. It's like mixing up the roles. Both of them have a quality. Allah has given men certain qualities, women certain qualities. It's not about one is better than the other. One has one quality, the other has one quality, another different quality. So these are, because of differences, the gender roles are different. Allah has made roles differently for both men and women. The role of a man is to be the breadwinner. The role of a man, this is why nafaqa, in the olden times, wives used to depend on their husbands. This is one, I'm not saying women shouldn't work, but one of the reasons is motherhood is no longer in our families. Because we have a family, we have the man working, the woman working, and the children are born, then they are looked after by the nanny. Not the nanny. If it was a nanny, then it's good, at least you know your mother's mother. But a nanny is looking after, no time for the children, the man is somewhere else, the woman is somewhere else, and no longer, the woman doesn't depend on the man anymore. Like, okay, so what? The roles are completely different, and the man is no longer being the responsible man of providing nafaqa. The Qur'an said, الرجال قوامون على النساء بما فضل الله به بعضهم على بعض وبما أنفقوا من أموالهم. Qawamun, plural of qiwam. The man is a caretaker, not the boss. Qiwam, someone who's in charge, who takes care with affection, with love. You know, somebody who manages the affairs of the house. So these are gender roles that we really need to understand. Today we live in a time, you know, when we look at the rights of husband and wives, you know, there's so many rights of the husband and rights of the wife, and like we talk about this in marriage courses. But there's one ultimate right, which is for the wife, and one for the husband. From all the rights, if you want to sum them up, the major right of the wife, which the husband needs to fulfill of hers, the major right, there's nafaqa, there's financial support and many other things. The main one is, based on her gender characteristic, is being ultimately caring and loving towards her. That's the main right. The man has to be extremely عاشروهن بالمعروف. Numerous verses of the Qur'an and Hadith talk about looking after the man, a woman, being gentle, being caring, being affectionate, looking after her needs, you know, treating her with ultimate love, care, adoration, emotional help and support. A woman needs to have ultimate adoration and respect towards a husband. Any marriage, listen to this carefully, in any marriage where where a wife loses respect for her husband, that marriage is doomed for failure. Some women say, but he needs to earn his respect. I say, no, the man doesn't need to earn his respect. Yes, the man must not lose his respect. It's different. You don't get married and say, okay, now 1 year I'm going to earn your respect. No, as soon as you get married, Allah has said you respect him. Allah, through nikah, Allah has given him respect. But yes, the man must not act as a child, and not act un-Islamically, and not become such that then the woman loses respect. Yeah, the man must not lose his respect, but he doesn't need to earn it. So the ultimate right of the husband is adoration, amir. He is considered to be amir of the household. In Islam, every area where there are few people, you need to have an amir. The hadith says even when you're traveling, appoint. We forgot to appoint an amir, but we already had one amir anyway, automatically. We have to appoint an amir. This is a sunnah. Why? Because the amir, he takes mashwara, consults. Final decision is up to the amir. Anywhere where the person, the head, loses respect, then you know that any job, you have an industry, you have a factory, you have a business, the boss loses his employees, that's it, failure. Anywhere where the main guy loses respect, then there's destruction. That's why we have to have someone. The wife must realize that this is my amir. Ultimate adoration, for Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. After Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, for a woman is like, nobody is better than my husband on planet Earth. And the husband, there's nobody worthy of my love, care, attention, emotional help and support and ultimate caring than my wife. These are the major gender roles, and most important. That's why men love to be respected. When I say respect, of course men need to respect women, and women, if you look in a different context, the word respect in English can mean few different things. But this is why I've explained this. If you're talking about etiquette and adab, then of course you have to treat each other with respect. But this is considering, like, you know, in the olden times, women used to be submissive. Women used to be submissive. There's actually another whole book written on this topic. There's a book called The Surrendered Wife. You can buy it. There's also a website. You know, there was a woman in America, non-Muslim. I think she's probably still alive. I've mentioned this many times. Her name was Laura Doyle. She used to have a lot of marriage problems because she was one of those feminists. Now, that's another problem. Feminism is a big issue. Nowadays, you look at feminism, it's a massive issue. Big issue. You know, like, if feminism means that men need to treat the women well, of course, then that's fine. Islam says there's nobody's given more treatment, good treatment to women than Islam. You know, so many hadith of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam that talk about how to treat your women with love, care, attention. But if feminism means that the woman is like, you know, controlling the man, it's gone to the other end now. You know why this has come about? Because for many, many years, the women were oppressed. You know, whenever there's a reaction, then it goes to the other extreme. So for many, many years, women were oppressed. Then when they stood up, now they're oppressing the men. And this feminism, you get this. Nowadays, women are very feminist, some of them, like, especially in North America. I remember once, many, many years ago, I went to a program. There was a massive conference in Toronto, in Canada. And my talk was about rights of husband and rights of wife. I talked for 1 hour, 45 minutes, I talked about the rights of the wife, 45 minutes. 15 minutes I talked about the rights of the husband. Straight after the talk, a lady came running after me. I don't agree with what you're saying, you know, respect the husband. There's all these hadiths. I mention hadiths because I don't believe in these hadiths. The hadith of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam that says that any woman who, you know, prays a 5-time prayers and fasts and makes her husband happy, she will enter paradise from whichever door. تدخل الجنة من أي أبواب شاءت. Oh, what is all this? You know, what about the husband? You know, can enter the Jannah. Everything. What about the husband? You know, this whole submissiveness is gone. And because of that, like I said, you've got a half man and a half woman marrying a half man and a half woman. The first point. So this woman, Laura Doyle, she was a feminist. Like, she used to control her husband. Misery in marriage is like completely misery. Problems in marriage. Lots of problems in marriage. And she once said, you know what, I want to become submissive, completely submissive, surrender myself. G, whatever you say. You know, what you say, I am for you. Whatever you want, I'm yours. You want to do this? This. You want to do this? Do that. She started doing that and her whole marriage changed. Because my husband became extremely loving, caring, like he goes the extra yard to make sure that I get everything I want. She said, I could never be happier in marriage. She told a friend who was having marriage problems. She started doing the same. Her marriage was transformed. She told a third friend. Because these are all American women. All of them like wearing the trousers in the house. So she changed her way. Her marriage is now prosperous. Told the fourth friend. Actually, slowly, this was like 70s or something. Slowly became a whole group and they called the Surrendered Wife Cult. We are surrendered. And then she wrote a book called The Surrendered Wife. You can order it online. Read it. I actually read that book. Every chapter of that book reminded me of hadiths of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You know, chapter 1, obey your husband. Chapter 2, respect your husband. Chapter 3, you know, all these chapters, the way she told how a wife should be. And actually, there was somebody, I mentioned this recently, a sister she's an American sister, Muslim, but she lives in Jordan. She called me about 2-3 months ago and she said that I've actually started a company. It's a business, so I don't normally mention because people tell me I'm very careful because, you know, for business you don't want to advertise it in an Islamic way. But she said, if you can, inshallah, you know, I've started a business where I'm mentoring and tutoring and helping Muslim wives to be submissive towards their husbands. She goes, I went through 2 years, I trained with Laura Doyle, the one who wrote that book. But because she's not Muslim, so I've added the Islamic flavor to it. And I've started this company, me and my husband, and I actually train a lot of, so if you have people, inshallah, tell them, direct them to my website. I've got courses and I teach them how to be submissive to your husbands. I can't even remember the website, etc. right now. She's emailed it to me. So, and she's a Muslim woman, American Muslim woman, but she lives in Jordan. So you have this submissiveness. Gender roles. A man has to remain a man and the woman needs to remain a woman. This feminism is really creating a massive problem in our societies. a massive problem. To the point now, people, it's so confused. I was reading up on this, so confused that feminism has gone to another level. There are, you know, all these things. I recently had a talk somewhere. Where are you? Huddersfield. I forget sometimes where we are. Close, there was a place, Rochdale, which is close, I don't know, too far from here. We had a talk on atheism last month or the month before. And I actually talked about how all these things are related. Nowadays you get people, there'll be somebody, there'll be a woman who'll be a feminist, agnostic or atheist, liberal, lefty, vegan, like animal rights activist, all of this in one. Like, and sexually, they are now considering themselves to be, they do not agree with having monogamous relationships. Like, there's not one man can't control me. I'm open to having multiple partners. Many feminists are actually now going into the lifestyle of whoever I want to have 3-4 men at different, at one occasion. I'm not exclusively for one person because I'm a feminist. Nobody can control me. And this ego comes, and it's really crazy. And atheism is the same. It's with it. All of these things are together. So we need to realize this, that gender roles, the man must at the same time ensure that he is the man. If the man says to the wife that, look, I'll be the man, the Messenger ﷺ divided. Sayyidina Ali ibn Abi Talib, he said, you go outside the house and work, be the breadwinner. And Sayyidah Fatima radiallahu anha, you stay in the house, be a mother. The greatest maqam for a woman is being a mother. There's no greater maqam for a woman than being a mother. Our sisters are here listening. If anyone tells you you're backward or you're somehow not doing anything in life because you chose to stay at home and look after your mother, then tell that person, sorry, salaam alaikum. This person is not worthy of any consideration. There's no better chore, if you want to call it a chore. There's no better activity than being a mother and looking after your children. If anyone tells you you're backward because you're staying at home, let them say that. Because they want to spoil their lives, if they've spoiled their lives, they want to spoil your life as well. You can tell your husband, you know what, I'm going to wake up 10 o'clock in the morning, have a shower, get ready, have breakfast, then put my feet up, relax, then I'll cook my meal, I'll clean the house, I'll look after the children, I'm going to stay at home. You go and bring everything, pay for everything. This is what Islam says, no problem. That's what Islam says. If you want to contribute, alhamdulillah. If you don't want to, you don't have to pay a penny. Because this is what the Islamic rule is. Nafaqa, financial support, is exclusively on the husband. But then at the same time, remember that if your husband can't take you every other month to Dubai, then he can't take you to every other month to Dubai. Because this is another problem. Like we want to live a lifestyle with all these luxuries, and then they cause problems. We want to build massive houses, but no homes. We have no time for our children because we want to live like a massive house. Real peace, contentment is in a smaller house. Be together as a family, give time to one another. We don't have even time for our children. That's another topic altogether. I've got a course coming up somewhere. Rights of children. How to treat our children, how to give them time. So anyway, time is very short. I'm giving time. This was only the second point. I'm going to just quickly mention some other points. Point number 3. Another reason why we have marital problems and conflicts and divorces and marriages end. Because there's too many expectations. Before marriage, there's not too many expectations. People delay marriage because of too many expectations. There's nobody perfect in the world. That's why the hadith says, لا يفرق مؤمن مؤمنا. No husband, mu'min here refers to husband, no husband should dislike his wife. إن كره منها خلقا رضي منها آخر. If you dislike one character trait of your wife, there's so many other things to be happy about. If she can't cook well, then she's very good at cleaning the house. If she's not cleaning the house, then she's very good at talking to you. Everyone has, the husband might not be good at one thing, but good at another thing. So, less expectations. Nobody's perfect. You will never get anybody perfect. This is what marriages is striving and struggling. There's no one perfect. Nobody will be perfect. Before we get married, some women, they think, because they've watched all these Bollywood movies and everything, when I get married, my husband will be the Prince Charming and come and, lift me on my head and do this and that, and, it's all in the movies are for the movies. Basically, that's what it is, it's acting. That's not reality, it's not real life. And likewise, the husband thinks, when I get married, she's going to do this and this is everything. Lower the expectation. And generally, this is a point. In life, if you want to be happy, lower expectations. Our expectations are only for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and not with anybody else. If you have low expectations, you will never be disappointed in life. One of the ulama, many ulama say this, that the major ingredient to be content and happy and peaceful in this life is to lower expectations from the makhluk, from the creation of Allah. If you give somebody something, don't expect anything in return. If they did something good back in return, alhamdulillah, I wasn't expecting, you'll be happy. That was unexpected. But if they didn't, that's normal. Don't expect anything. And this is actually another point which I think I was going to talk about, make it real to this point, is that even in marriage, no expectation from your spouse. When you are good to your spouse, this is the main, what I'm saying right now is the summary khulasa for this session and the next session. This is something I want you to take with you. Generally in life you need to do this. This is so important. Inna salati wa nusuki wa mahyaya wa mamati lillahi rabbil alameen. A Muslim's prayer, fasting, zakat, living, death, every breath is only for Allah. Everything we do with ikhlas and sincerity for the sake of Allah. When you are in a marriage, you marry for the sake of Allah, for reward from Allah. Marriage and ibadah. When you are good to your wife, you do it for the sake of Allah. When you are good to your husband, you're for the sake of Allah. If you smile at your wife, for the sake of Allah. You pick your children up and give them hugs and kisses and love. Sunnah of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, reward for the sake of Allah. If we do that in marriage, it's become a transaction. Every time someone calls me, husband says, oh yeah, I do this, I do this, but she doesn't do this. I said, well, were you waiting for like a transaction? Was this a business, contract? Every time the wife says, I do this, but he doesn't do this. It's like a transaction. I always say to people, forget what they do. When you go in akhirah, when you see all the rewards, you probably think, I wish he never did nothing for me. Look at the rewards you've got. You do it for Allah's sake. Every aspect of your good dealing with your wife is only for the sake of Allah. Nothing in return. I was nice to her, now she must cook me a good meal. No. It's for the sake of Allah. Don't expect anything from your spouse. These too much expectations are a massive problem. Everything, if we live a life like this, where we do things for the sake of Allah and don't wait for any return or any recompense or anything in return, then the world would be a much better place to live in, if we take this in life. And marriage is no different. It's always about your spouse. It's all about the other person. It's all about you. We live in a time where it's all about me. Me, myself, I. My food, my biryani, my chicken, my curry, my feet being pressed, my khidmah, my service, my this. It's all about me. We go into marriage, what am I going to get in marriage? No. What am I going to give in marriage? Marriage should be, what am I going to give? It's all about how much care, how much attention, how much looking after, how much khidmah, how much love, how much attention, how can I get reward from Allah? This is a means to enter Jannah. When I get married, I've got 200, 300, 400 every day, every minute, every second means of entering Jannah. Look for ways, let me do this for my wife, let me do this for my husband. I want to get Jannah. Forget, no, you don't do anything for me, I'll do everything for you. Imagine husband and wife fighting, no, you don't, I'll do it, no, I'm going to do it. And imagine what an amazing marriage that would be. This is what we need to take, everything, make it for the other person. So this was a third point. Why we have problems in marriage is that too much expectations. Number 4, quickly moving, as I said I had 10 points, but I don't know, just 5 minutes, I'll just try to summarize. We have, a lot of times, immaturity. Especially this is a point more connected to men, too many immature men. Sadly, we live in a time where there are 40-year-olds, but they act like 4-year-olds. It's a big issue. A lot of women say this to me, that we find problems with husbands when they get married, 22-year-olds, but they've not grown older than 5. So immaturity, living a bachelor lifestyle, and still want to live a bachelor lifestyle and being immature creates massive problems. So try to be a bit intelligent, have aql. Sometimes, honestly, seriously, when you look at people, the intelligence, the aql, the brain, the maturity, it's sad. We live in a time where, honestly, from a maturity and mental point of view, it's really dwindled, it's going down. Sometimes you look at some comments like on social media, and the way people are acting like children, like you got a 25-year-old man acting like a 2-year-old, I'm not saying don't have fun in life, yeah, be pleasant, be nice. Of course, the hadith says the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam will also joke and be pleasant with their spouses and with friends. But sometimes it's hideous, the way people act. It's like childish, extremely childish. There's no seriousness. We are an ummah that was not created to be foolish and childish people. We are serious people. We are not people of fun. This dunya is not just for fun. We are serious people. We've got things to do in life. You know, utilize your time, and we need to be serious people in life. So even in marriage at home, be serious. Number 5, big issue. Interference of outside people. Family members especially. In Islam says when two people are married, only they are married. The daddy from here is not marrying the dada from there. The great-granddad from there is not marrying the great-grandma from here. You know, give your support, but let them live their life. This is a big, massive Asian subcontinent problem. When there's a problem, everyone wants to get involved. The uncle wants to be happy and the grandma wants to be happy there. Where's my right and where's this and everyone? And the people marry themselves. You know, every small issue, you get other people involved. Your husband didn't smile at you, pick the phone, Mom, my husband didn't smile at me. Come on, you know, grow up, you're a wife now. You don't every morning and night phoning your mom and telling every small detail about your life. That's not right. You have to let other people not interfere. The interference of other people, family members and friends is a massive issue that creates problems. Even friends. And actually, there's hadith that talk about the one who turns the wife against the husband. When you are asked other people outside the marriage, give your advice, but to hastily turn someone against their wife or their husband is a massive sin. It's haram in Islam. You know, so many people, the sister will call another sister, oh, if I was you, I'd leave him. What kind of advice is that? If I was you, I'd leave him. Okay, if she's getting beaten up and abused, etc., then you say, of course, that's not right, and then take means. But sometimes, like, every small issue, like, leave him, like, you're actually you're giving them more support to leave the wife or leave the husband. Interference of other people. You should try your utmost best to say, no, inshallah, do something, this work out, this way, that way, try to solve this. Try to help people to maintain marriages. Divorce is permissible, but it's one of the most disliked things according to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number 6, expectations from in-laws and living together. This is a big issue as well. I don't have time to talk about this, but in-laws expectations is a massive issue. Again, sorry, I might say some things that it might be culturally, not right and politically incorrect to say in some of our communities. But Islam says clearly that when a husband and wife get married, the wife doesn't have no responsibility towards the mother-in-law and father-in-law. No, they're not her parents. She should treat them like uncles, aunts, parents. But she doesn't have to do anything whatsoever. She does not have to lift a spoon for her father-in-law. She is not sinful whatsoever. If she does do something, then there's reward. When there's something that's recommended or she gets reward, then it needs to be appreciated. A mother-in-law must not demand and expect anything from her daughter-in-law. If the daughter-in-law does something, then she'll say, oh, no, Jazakallah, because you don't have to do it, but you're doing it, so she will appreciate it. And when women appreciate it, they'll do more. The wife will actually do more because the mother-in-law is appreciating, knowing that she doesn't have to do it, but she's doing it. So there should be no expectations from in-laws. Even living together, many ulama, like from the subcontinent, Mawlana Shaykh rahimahullah, this was many years ago in his 30s, and he actually wrote in many of his books that in our time, my advice is as soon as you get married, tell your children to live separately. Don't let them live with you in the same house. Many books he wrote about this. And actually it's one of the rights of the wife. If she wants a separate place, then the husband has to live separately. That doesn't mean you go in Jupiter and live. Then you're never able to see your parents. Someone says, oh, live separately, that means you're going to Mars. No, you're not going to Mars. You could be living across the street. You go to your parents and look after your dad and mom and spend time with them every day. Go and take food there if you want, everything. But just a separate space. This is a right of the wife. It's a fundamental right. If she wants that right, and the husband doesn't give that right, then the husband is sinful, it's haram, it's against the teachings of Islam. She doesn't have to do anything for her in-laws. But if she does, she gets a lot of reward. She should do it, inshallah, with a lot of reward, but it's not necessary. Number 7, quickly, Another reason why we have marriage problems is because of bad character, and this is given, we all know, bad attitude, especially the tongue, the misuse of the tongue. This is going back to spiritual diseases and akhlaq and character. We have not reformed ourselves, we've not looked after ourselves, we haven't built our good character, especially the tongue. You know, I tell you, so many marriages end up because of the misuse of the tongue. How many times though? I remember there was one case when a brother said he's giving divorce to his wife. He said, this is 8 years of constant nagging, swearing from my wife. Slowly it drove him away. The tongue it's poison. You know, sometimes it could be a man, it could be a wife. Anyone's tongue. A lot of the times this is more of an issue of a woman. They just think, you know, I can say anything, whatever, like, you know, swear and say anything. As soon as the husband says that, how dare you say that? Well, you just said it, I can say that I'm a woman. It doesn't mean that if you're a woman you can do anything. You know, the misuse of the tongue, it drives the man away. Swearing, nagging, slandering. You know, the mouth needs to be controlled. A lot of the problems, I always mention that story, I don't know if you've heard of this, but you know, and the thing is, we think every marriage problem is black magic. Jadoo. Someone, you know, this is an easy way to deflect responsibility. Every issue, marriage problem, someone sitting in Mirpur doing black magic. Come on, yeah. Have some brains. Again, there's no aql, we don't think with aql. And then we go to this amil and that amil and this person who are all there to take advantage of your weakness and vulnerability and make money, and it's a multi-million business industry. And they're all corrupt, foolish fraudsters, most of them, 99% of them. It's a big business. I know lots of things what goes on. Every issue, then you become obsessed. It's a disease, it's a waham. A spoon falls in the kitchen and you think someone's done a black magic, that's why it fell down. Every issue, you know, it's an easy way to deflect responsibility. Like, we're good people, someone else is breaking our marriage. No, you yourself is breaking your own marriage because your akhlaq is bad, your character is bad. You're not a good person. No, nobody else is making you bad. You yourself, you're bad. So, and then we just want someone to do, you know, some treatment and, you know, get some water. I remember I mentioned the story many times before, that there was this one Shaykh, this husband and wife came to say, we've got too many marriage problems, please, you know, give us some magic potion, some dua, wazifa. Another problem, everything in the world's going to change with the wazifa. Yeah, everything's going to change with the wazifa. So they came to the Shaykh and said, Shaykh, you know, give us some water, dam, you know, blow, we'll drink water, our marriage will be solved. The Shaykh is trying to explain to them that marriages don't get solved by just drinking some water and I do dam and, you know, miraculously it's a magic potion. You have to build your character. Islam is working. You have to be a good person. They wouldn't understand. The Shaykh understood it was misuse of the tongue. So then he used a trick. He said, you know what, okay, inshallah, I'm going to use some water, I'm going to blow on it. I'm going to read some special dua. Now take this, one bottle for you husband, one bottle for your wife. Special magic dua, wazifa, mashallah. It's a special secret, you know. Wazifas are not secret, anyone can read them. You don't have to go to some special person for some special wazifa. Any Muslim can read it. So anyway, he said, one water bottle for you, one bottle for you. And then he said, you know what, how to drink this? He said to the wife, whenever the husband comes in the house, as soon as he enters the house from work, you have to take the water and drink it and take in your mouth and keep it for 10 minutes. And the husband, he said to the husband, as soon as she takes, you drink your water and keep that water in your mouth for 10 minutes. The problem was solved after 5-6 months. Why was it solved? They came to the husband, the Shaykh said, I understood. The problem was, from what you told me all the details, as soon as the husband used to come from work, he was tired, etc. The wife used to nag. As soon as he used to come in, you come late, and today the milk is not here, and this and that, and then he gets frustrated, and they're just shouting at each other. So he said, you know what, as soon as he comes from work, the wife, she's got water in her mouth. How's she going to talk? She wants to say something, but 10 minutes, and everything, she's cooled down, and the husband can't talk as well. Marriage problem solved. So this is why the misuse of the tongue. Number 8 quickly, 8, 9 and 10, I just mentioned in 1 minute. Money issues, you know, financial issues, love of dunya. We've got love of dunya, it's a spiritual disease. We need to do tazkiyah of our hearts. This is a topic on its own. I can talk 2 hours on this topic. Each of these points I can talk about 2 hours. Love of dunya is a spiritual disease. We need to remove the spiritual disease from the hearts, you know, and this is why we have conflicts to do with doing love of dunya. And I'll just say to you 1 minute. Number 9, not practicing Islam, so there's no barakah. If we don't practice Islam, Allah doesn't give barakah. If we want barakah and blessings in our marriage, then we need to practice Islam. A house that has Islam in it, 5-time prayers, salah, saum, zakat, and then reading collectively books together, reading the seerah of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, acting upon Islam, have Islam at home. You can't expect to have a prosperous marriage without Islam at home. So very important that have Islam at home. And number 10, all these 9 issues I mentioned, we could do something about it. This last issue is not in our control, it's beyond our control, which is no compatibility. Sometimes you could act upon all these 9 things, everything's there, but 2 people are just too different, they're not compatible, and therefore there's no chemistry and they can't work. When that happens, that's the only time when you think about divorce, because there's no way you can actually do anything about it. 9 things were in our control, the 10th thing was beyond our control. So these were just 10 random thoughts and points. Tilka asharatun kamila came to my mind, which I just jotted down, and I could say a lot about these things. This is like having these topics. Each of these 10 points require a lot of detail, maybe, inshallah. But we've got the idea anyway. These are issues and reasons that cause marriage problems. If we start acting upon this, try to bring this into our life, and the main thing that I mentioned, make marriages all about the other person. Everything about the other person. We are there to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Marriage is an ibadah, it's a worship. It's all about gaining the pleasure of Allah. It's all about the akhirah. And doing it for the sake of Allah. If we do that, then inshallah we will see that our marriages will prosper as well, inshallah. Jazakallah khair, inshallah.
يا هلا ويا هلا ويا هلا ويا هلا يا هلا ويا هلا ويا هلا ويا هلا حن قلبي على جمعة الخير هلا حن قلبي على جمعة